Hello, everybody. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing said on the podcast is financial advice. Please talk to a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. Let's get into the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Friday 365. I'm your host, Matthew, and remember to subscribe so you can join me on this journey where every day is Friday. Today, we got a really special guest joining us, Joby Weeks. He has a really unique story. From becoming a millionaire at a young age to traveling the world to getting deep into Bitcoin early on, his journey has taken a lot of turns. Joby, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me on, Matt, to share this crazy story.
I think a lot of people are really going to connect with your story. I just want to start off. How did your journey into Bitcoin first begin?
Well, I read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island by Ed Griffin, and another one called Atlas Shrugged. Those two books probably had the most influence on my worldview. And so even before Bitcoin was invented, I was on that quest, that path. I had learned about an organization called the Liberty Dollar, for instance. Bernard von Nothaus wrote a book called The Liberty Dollar Solution to the Federal Reserve. And he was discussing the differences between legal tender and lawful money. Of course, in the Constitution, gold and silver is lawful money. So what's this legal tender, right? And so I kind of started studying about our current money system that we've been born into. We inherited this. And I didn't really like it much. I found out that our money is not backed by gold and silver anymore. It's backed by bonds, backed by birth certificates, backed by the government's ability to tax us. So what they do is they hypothecate humans. They use us as collateral for this debt. And because all the money springs into existence out of debt, if you were to ever pay the debt back, there wouldn't be a dollar left circulating anywhere in the economy. And yet we would still owe all the interest. It's a mathematical impossibility. You can't pay principal plus interest if only principal exists. So it's a game of musical chairs. There's 12 people going after 10 chairs, And so I didn't like that. We were all debt slaves to the banking cartel, and I wanted to leave, freedom and liberty to my kids. My daughter's name is Liberty. And so I got heavy into the economics behind it. I started studying the differences between Keynesian economics and Austrian economics. I'm a Ron Paul supporter. He wrote a book called The Free Competition and Currency Act, along with other acts that I really support. His books, End the Fed, Liberty Defined, Foreign Policy of Freedom, etc. His books really had an influence on me as well. So I got involved in the Liberty Dollar, and we had about 20,000 merchants accepting our money for their goods and services, minted over $100 million, had a run-in with the FBI. They came with machine guns and raided us because we made these Ron Paul coins when he was running for office back in like 2008. We had minted a whole bunch of them. And so I'd always been curious. And so we dabbled in another currency after that, a time-backed currency where time is money. So we had a 2-hour note, a 1-hour note, a half-hour note. We created a barter network there. And so that was fun. That was called Mount Hours and Mile High Hours and Aloha Hours, and it started to spread. And that's when Bitcoin was invented. And so I was already in this, community of people trying to exist, trying to figure out how to operate outside of the matrix, outside of this whole SWIFT system. If you understand the SWIFT system, we have the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of the world. And underneath that are the member banks, the IMF, the World Bank, the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Bank, et cetera. And then you have the corresponding banks like, Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America, et cetera. And then all the mom and pop banks under that, the SWIFT system. How do we operate outside of that system? And when Bitcoin came along, it's not a debt-based currency. Bitcoin is energy. And that's, at the end of the day, all we're ever trading is energy, right? That's why gold and silver is money, because it takes energy to create a gold and silver coin. You got to dig it out of the ground and refine it and stamp it into a beautiful coin. And the same with electricity to make a Bitcoin. It's energy that we're really trading at the end of the day. And these guys want to have this debt-based system, and above the owners of that system are these families. They've got these trillion-dollar trusts. I call them the guys in the cloud. And so those guys have this beautiful system they built, and Bitcoin comes out and $3.5 trillion leaves their system and goes into the crypto space. So that's kind of the people that I pissed off, which is why I'm kind of stuck in this situation that I'm in. I've been on house arrest now for close to 7 years, and I'll get into that story. But what happened was I learned about Bitcoin, and you could only get it on the Silk Road. There wasn't any exchanges back then. And so you had to figure out how the Tor network worked and go in and get a VPN and get your green dot card and then go find some seller that could sell you some Bitcoin. And it's like eBay, you know, the sellers had 5 stars and he sold 1,000 people some Bitcoin. So I thought, okay, maybe I can trust this guy. I'll give him $200 and see what happens. And he gave me 250 Bitcoins back. So at the time it was 85 cents a Bitcoin, but I didn't really have any use for Bitcoin because the only thing you could buy with Bitcoin were drugs on the Silk Road. I didn't have any need for drugs, so I just left my Bitcoin on the Silk Road in the wallet there. I didn't realize that you need to take your Bitcoin off. They say not your keys, not your crypto. And so you never want to leave your crypto on exchanges like Kraken or Coinbase or the Silk Road or anywhere else. You want to pull it off and put it in your own wallet and self-custody it, which I didn't know about. So when the feds raided the Silk Road, and stole everybody's Bitcoin, they stole mine too. Even though I was doing nothing wrong, I broke no laws, I did nothing illegal. They just came and stole all of our money and auctioned it off to Tim Draper. And so, but I believed in the concept and the idea of being able to transfer value across the internet, peer-to-peer, without having to go through a trusted third party. So I thought, oh, this is a great invention. I call it the number 2 best invention in human history. The number 1 being air conditioning. Places like Las Vegas and Singapore would not exist without air conditioning, you know? So besides that, I was like, well, I got to get some more Bitcoin. So an exchange came out called Mt. Gox. So I bought a bunch of Bitcoin on Mt. Gox. And then that exchange got hacked. So I lost all my Bitcoin again. And I was like, oh, man. And this guy, Vitalik, who I met at this conference called Porcupine Festival, Pork Fest, run by the Free State Project in New Hampshire. I attend that every year. I was attending it until I got kidnapped. But Vitalik was talking about launching something called Ethereum. And so you could do smart contracts on the blockchain. And I thought, oh, this is clever. It's kind of like Bitcoin, but it's kind of got its own blockchain. So I got into Ethereum early. And then there was this DAO, distributed autonomous organization. It was called Schlocket. So it was a fast, I mean, we raised like $60 million in like 2 days and then it got hacked. And so they literally had to fork the Ethereum blockchain from Ethereum Classic to Ethereum. So I'm like, gosh, I just had all my crypto stolen again. So somebody came up to me and said, well, you should start mining Bitcoin instead of just buying it and having it get stolen. And I didn't really understand what mining was. And they're like, well, it's like buying a machine that prints money. You can buy the golden egg or you can buy the goose that lays golden eggs. And I thought, oh yeah, it makes sense. Buy the goose that lays the golden egg and you just get endless supplies of eggs, right? And so, you know, you go into the online and you find companies like Butterfly Labs that would take money but never deliver any hardware. And I mean, it was the wild, wild west back then where there wasn't any Bitmain and Bitfury and these guys hadn't come out yet with their equipment. So anyways, it's been an adventure trying to figure this whole thing out. I got limitless stories to tell about, you know, this experience going through the crypto space over the years. But what had happened with me was I was down at Necker Island with Richard Branson and a bunch of friends, and there was an organization called Bitfury that was making the chips. They were sponsoring the event, the chips to mine Bitcoin. They call them ASIC chips. So when we first started out, you could mine Bitcoin on a laptop computer with CPUs. And then somebody got smart and said, hey, why don't we start mining with graphics cards, the GPUs, like what NVIDIA sells. And then Bitfury was like, well, wait, let's make an ASIC chip that's specific for the SHA-256 algorithm, which is an algorithm to mine Bitcoin. And so they came out with that. So I meet these guys. And I'm like, hey, can I buy some of these machines that print money? And they're like, no, why would we sell you a machine that prints money when we could keep the machine and print money ourselves? And I thought, well, I guess you got a point there. You know? So, but I kept on trying. They say the fortune is in the follow-up. So like every single week I would call them, hey, would you sell me a machine that prints money? Every week they'd tell me no. And I had heard about another organization called Bitclub, and they were also claiming that they were mining Bitcoin. And I was very skeptical by then. And so I said, well, I have to go meet these guys and see. And they were doing a trip up into Iceland. They're like, come on up, see the data center, you know. So I fly to Iceland. There's 200 other people there vetting the company, you know, meeting the founders, and walk through the data center. They showed us how Bitcoin mining works. I got pretty excited. I'm in the crystal or the blue lagoon or whatever they call it up there in Iceland. We're soaking there. It's like, it's heated by a volcano, you know. And I meet the owners, this guy, Russ and Matt. These guys, Russ and Matt. And I asked them, well, where are you getting your equipment to mine Bitcoin? And they said a Chinese outfit called Bitmain. And I was like, well, how much are they charging you for it? And it was like $300,000 a petahash. So I said, well, I might be able to get you a better deal. And so they said, okay, well, get us a quote. And so I called up the Bitfury guys and I said, hey, I met these guys. I might be able to broker a deal. They're building big data centers. They're filling them full of equipment. And they said, all right, we'll give you a quote. We'll sell it to you, but, you know, we're not selling it, you know, to the market. But I was buddy with these guys finally after 6 months of me harassing them. I wanted to broker some sales. So I got them a quote. It was cheaper than what they were paying. That's Chinese. So they ordered. And I ping. I got the price from $300,000 all the way down to $150,000 a petahash. You know, when competition is allowed, quality goes up and prices come down. It's only under a monopoly that everybody gets screwed, you know? So I saved the members of Bitclub millions and millions of dollars off the purchasing price of the equipment. And the next thing you know, I'm flying all around the world, setting up big data centers for this organization called Bitclub. They were one of my clients. So I was a vendor selling them computer equipment. Didn't start Bitclub, didn't own it. They had started 16 months prior. And I just came in as a member and a vendor to hook them up with mining hardware. And that was exciting. I went to 175 countries trying to find cheap electricity for them. It was like, you know, if you could save 1 penny on 100 megawatts, you're saving $8 million a year just on a penny. You know, So I was going all around trying to find cheap electricity, and we set them up all over the world. And Bitclub ended up raising $700 million, and they built these data centers, which mined over 92,000 Bitcoins and 500,000 Ethereum, which is worth $10 billion. And instead of being on the cover of Time magazine for the fastest company to hit $1 billion in sales, faster than Google and Facebook and Amazon, you know, not market cap, but actual sales, instead of that, they arrested us. They said we were selling unregistered securities. I'm like, wait a second, I'm selling computer equipment. That you can depreciate it. That's a physical product. And they came in, they stole all the money and stole all the equipment. They created over 1 million victims. Bitclub had 1 million members in over 100 different countries. Those data centers were generating about $5 million a day in Bitcoin. And it's been shut down for over 2,300 days now. And so, I mean, that's $10 billion right there. So they grabbed me at Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny conference. And this is 2019, 7 years ago, right? So they grabbed me at this, and instead of them bringing me to jail to see a judge or lawyers and stuff, they bring me to this unmarked building, and they're sitting there for 6 hours trying to harass me into like giving up my private keys. They were trying to steal my Bitcoin. And I was like, well, if you guys are really police, you gotta like, you know, give me due process. I get to see a judge, get to talk to a lawyer. I get to go to jail. Like, you can't just like send me off to Gitmo and try to steal my Bitcoin, man. And so long and the short, they get mad. I'm like, I need to have Bitcoin for bail and to, you know, hire a lawyer. I can't just give you my crypto. So they get mad, and for 11 months they disappear me. I'm bounced from jail to jail to jail to jail, state to state to state to state, all over the country for 11 months. My family doesn't know where I'm at. Denied me bail, denied me a trial, totally illegal, totally unconstitutional. The due process in the Constitution says you get indicted, then you get arrested, then you get bail, then you get a trial, and if you're convicted after trial, then you go to jail after you've been convicted. They skipped all that. They just kidnap you, throw you in jail, deny you bail, deny you a trial, steal all your stuff, no due process. They torture you until you admit to 2 + 2 = 5, which is what happened with me. Is my attorneys came to me and said, listen, the government is run by the mafia. It's called organized crime, and especially in New Jersey. And so because it's organized crime, they create these loopholes where they get to violate your rights. So they say you have a right to bear arms, unless you're a felon. No, it says you have a right to bear arms shall not be infringed, or you have a right to a trial, a speedy trial, unless it's a complex case. Then what happens is the judge makes what's called an ends of justice ruling, and they waive your speedy trial rights. And then they say you have a right to bail unless you're a flight risk. And of course they say, well, he's a flight risk, Your Honor. Lawyers can't be witnesses. They brought no witnesses that testified that I was a flight risk. But anyways, they just denied me bail, denied me trial. I was like, if you're not going to give me a trial, you got to give me bail. If you're not going to give me bail, you got to give me a trial. You can't just deny me both and just throw me in jail for years. And that's what my attorney said is, you're going to sit here in jail. What would you rather have? 5 years in jail and be found innocent, but lose 5 years sitting in jail, or 1 year in jail and be found guilty? I'm like, I've already been sitting here for a year. And they're like, well, what they want you to do is sign this piece of paper. You just admit 2 + 2 is 5, and you can go home tomorrow. If you insist 2 + 2 is 4, they're going to keep you in here for the next 5 years. Now, imagine if I would have done that at 60, now it's almost 7 years. I mean, I still have an ankle bracelet on. Dude. So I'm like, okay, so as long as I admit to killing Abraham Lincoln, I can go home tomorrow. It doesn't matter that I wasn't around. I mean, Abraham Lincoln died 150 years ago, but as long as I would just say I killed Abraham Lincoln, I can go home tomorrow. And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, 2 + 2 is 5. So they let me go home. So I got home and I'm like, okay, well, they also told me that I could reverse this plea agreement as long as I do it before sentencing, and I haven't been sentenced yet. So I had to fill out all this paperwork to reverse this false coerced plea agreement that I'd signed because they wouldn't give me bail or a trial. So now I've been battling back and forth. They've gone through 12 prosecutors. What happened is I started writing my motions in a way that are formal complaints. And when you file a complaint to an officer of government, if they do nothing about that, it's called a misprision of a felony, and they become accessories after the fact. So they don't want to be, a party to a crime, so they quit. So 3 more prosecutors come on, they read what I wrote, they quit. 3 more prosecutors come on, they read what I wrote, they quit. I've gone through 12 prosecutors, 33 continuances. I mean, if I was actually guilty and convicted, this is like an SEC thing, selling an unregistered security. It's normally just a fine, no mandatory minimums, 0 to 5 years max. 5 years is the max I could get if I was like guilty and sentenced and thrown in max. I've been sitting here for almost 7 years. Like, pow, it's almost 2 years past the max. And I still haven't had a trial. I've never been convicted, never been sentenced. I'm just sitting here in purgatory. And so my lawyers were like, don't do any interviews. We got this handled, and they just railroaded me. I spent over $5 million trying to get myself free. I have no idea why I even have to do this. I harmed no people. I broke no laws. There are no victims. There's no injured party. There's no one was standing to sue. They dragged me into a conspiracy I shouldn't even be involved in. And so here I am, still stuck on house arrest. And I decided, screw it. I'm going to start doing interviews and stuff because David Boies, my attorney, the Yale Law School is named after the guy. Hunter Biden worked for him for 10 years. And I figured this is Biden lawfare. This is a political case. This is not a legal case. So I might as well hire the CIA deep state guys in the Biden regime so I can get them to get rid. Nope, they just wanted to heist me and railroad me. And so he looked at me privately. This is a private conversation. He said, I know that you're innocent. I'm like, me too. He's like, but you're going to be a martyr for your cause if you don't get 10 million people behind you. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to get 10 million people behind me? You told me I'm not supposed to do any interviews. What are you talking about? So thank you for having me on, Matthew, so I could kind of share this crazy story. It's lawfare like you've never seen, man.
Now, going forward, with them passing all these crypto bills, will that affect you at all?
Yeah, well, you would think.
Because, Todd
Blanche, who's now the acting attorney general, wrote a white paper last April 7th, exactly 1 year and a day ago, that said we're going to end prosecution through regulation through prosecution. We're going to end it. All these crypto cases are going to be thrown out. And they did. They threw out a lot of them. But for some reason, they don't want to throw this one out. I don't know. There's been a shakeup in the DOJ. Pam Bondi was just fired a couple days ago. And specifically in the District of New Jersey, Trump doesn't really have power there because, well, we saw what happened. He tried to put in Alina Habba, and the Senate wouldn't confirm her. So after 4 months, the judges got together and elected somebody else to be the U.S. attorney. And so that the next day, Pam Bondi fired that person, put in Alina Habba again. So they don't have a legitimate U.S. attorney. And then what happened is the judges got together and said, that's unconstitutional. Then they kicked out Alina Habba again and put somebody else in. So, I actually filed a motion. I'm like, how can you guys even prosecute cases without a where does the assistant U.S. attorneys get their authority if there's no U.S. attorney? It's kind of like you have to have a judge grant the authority to delegate the power to a magistrate to hear a case. If there is no judge, the magistrate can't hear a case, right? If there's no U.S. attorney, how do these AUSAs have any power to prosecute anything? So everything's just been like, just a mess out of New Jersey. And so I'm on 3 paths. I'm trying to get case dismissed by the judges, but they're not going to do that. They're pissed at me because I did a counterclaim against them for $22 billion. I'm suing 6 judges, 12 prosecutors, the SEC, the IRS, the FBI, 50 agents, the clerks under RICO, the Sherman Antitrust Act, the Hobbs Act, and the Tucker Act. It's organized crime. They're out of order. And so they're not going to case dismiss me. They hate me, right? So then the Department of Justice could just drop the charges. I put everything on the docket. Here's all the crimes. All you guys got to do is read it. You're covered. You throw the case out. I don't know if they're going to do that. And I've been trying for over a year, man. And then a pardon. So I'm trying to get preemptively pardoned, because they did it with Hunter Biden. They did it with Dr. Fauci. I mean, if you can go kill millions of people and all this stuff, you could get a preemptive pardon. I didn't kill anybody. So hopefully, Trump will pardon me. I brought on a guy named Peter Tickton who has been friends with Trump for 65 years. He's one of his attorneys. He's helped me with the pardon application and going in through the pardon attorney, Ed Martin, and Alice Johnson, the pardon czar, and White House counsel. I mean, I'm trying any way I can to get free. I've been going crazy sitting here. I can't, my terms of bail, I can't have a phone. I can't have a computer. I can't have a bank account or use crypto. I can't even hold a remote control to the TV because it's connected to the internet. Can't go to weddings or funerals or church. I can't go to the gym. I can't get fresh air, sunlight. I have to have a guard watching me 24/7. I was drug tested twice a week, and that was the only time I could get out of the house was to go drug test. So I bought a bike. So I would ride 36 miles to downtown and back to do these drug tests so I could finally get some fresh air. So I actually put in a request. Can I please get drug tested every single day? They're like, no. So then they canceled the drug test altogether because they knew I liked the drug test. So they wanted to cancel the drug test.
Let me ask you this, because you were a true pioneer in the technology that was to be Bitcoin. You were the kind of like the first people that were like, oh, this is a technology that, we can use.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of trapped in the system. I mean, how did it feel watching the world slowly adopt Bitcoin over time?
Oh, awesome. I loved it. Nobody knew what a Bitcoin was, but because we had the mint, we decided to make a Bitcoin coin. So we designed the Bitcoin logo, put on the back the private key so that you could take your Bitcoin off the internet and put it on a physical coin. So it's a flood-proof, fire-proof coin. And that went viral because I got tired of getting hacked and stuff. So I was like, we got to figure out how to get a cold storage coin, a wallet. So that went viral. And I feel like I'm kind of, think about it like this. There's a jungle that connects Panama to Colombia. It's called the Darien Gap, and there's no roads that go through there. So imagine you look there, oh, I think I could put a road there. Let me raise the capital, take the risk. The natives are trying to kill you, and build this beautiful road through the Darien Gap. And then once it's built, now I've connected the continent. I've connected the North America to South America. Nobody's done that yet. It's a dream of mine to do that. So I build this road. And then the day after I'm done building the road, they kidnap me, throw me in jail, and then the ruler puts up a toll road and collects all the tolls into the fees going through. Remember I said Bitfury was a company that I was an investor in that spun off 2 companies. One's called Cypher and one is called Hut 8. Those are both billion-dollar unicorns, okay? Well, Hut 8 partnered with Eric Trump to build the American Bitcoin. The whole entire data center is filled with Hut 8 equipment. That was a company that I was the seed investor in. And they're now billion-dollar companies. I'm still sitting there on house arrest like, help, please. It's they say it's for real. The pioneers get the arrows, and then the settlers get the land. And I'm happy to see it because they haven't been able to stop Bitcoin. I watched it go from $1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, $100,000 of Bitcoin, and it's going to go to $1 million of Bitcoin. Why? Because the government's never going to stop printing the money. They print trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, making all of our money worth less and less and less. Inflation is theft. Inflation is a tax. If you or I did that, we'd get thrown in jail for it because we're creating victims. Anybody that uses the dollar is a victim because we're stealing their purchasing power. But they do it every day, right? So, they can't do that with Bitcoin. So any assets, whether it's gold or silver, we just watched silver. When we started minting silver, it was $4 an ounce. I just saw silver break $100. So if you want to protect yourself, 2 tricks. Buy assets. There's 2 people, rich people and poor people. What do poor people do? They make their money and they spend it instantly on rent and car payments and insurance and food and electric bills and all that. So money comes in and it's instantly out. That's what poor people do. Rich people, the money comes in, they put it into an asset first, something that generates cash flow, which then pays the car payment, pays the electric, the insurance, the food, pays your bills. So it's just one simple step. Take your money, buy the asset first, have the asset then pay your monthly expenses. Now, how to get free? You got to have your asset generate more cash flow than your expenses. So you either cut your expenses or you build up your assets. But that's the idea, is buy assets first. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, the Cash Flow Quadrant. Read Retire Young, Retire Rich, to understand that if you really want to be free in America, you have to get your cash flow. You got to buy assets. And that's why mining Bitcoin was so exciting to me, because you buy a machine that prints money, that generates cash flow to pay off your Mercedes. Never take $50,000 and buy a Mercedes Benz, because then the money's gone. Take the 50 grand, put it in an asset. The asset generates cash flow. 3 years later, the Benz is paid off. You still have the asset generating cash flow for jet skis or a motorboat. So that's the idea, is to get yourself free, you have to build up assets. And that's why this Bitcoin mining was so exciting. It's so exciting. I mean, the billion-dollar hedge funds are in it now. If you were to do it all over again, I'd go get into Zcash mining now. It's only like $300 for a Zcash, and we're going to see a $30,000 Zcash. So, if you want to just rinse and repeat and you're into mining stuff, go mine Zcash.
Your story is so powerful because I learned a lot from your documentary, and, you traveled around the world to 100 plus countries talking about Bitcoin. I mean, you even talked to the Pope. I mean, the co-founder of Ethereum. I mean, a lot of high-end individuals that you've talked to about Bitcoin. How does it feel seeing the Bitcoin logo that you made become the symbol everyone knows today?
I think it's great. They can't stop it. It's very cool. It's kind of like Pandora's box. You kind of release it. You're like, go. And then now I can focus on other stuff, and I don't have to stick my neck out and, get kidnapped anymore. Hopefully they'll forgive me. I mean, no harm, no foul. I wasn't actually trying to I have no criminal intent to harm anybody, which is what they have to prove at trial, is that I was there to try to rip my mom off, my dad off, my cousins, my uncles, and my aunts.
Can you just break it down for the listeners? So you just sold the machines.
I just sold machines that print money, the hardware, the Bitcoin mining hardware, to Bitclub. And I had other customers too, but I sold a majority of it to Bitclub. But, they didn't really like it that I was on stage for tens of thousands of people that would come to, because I traveled everywhere. I got millions of people into Bitcoin, and they were trying to, Obama had something called Operation Choke Point, where they deplatform you and debank you. And so, they just didn't like, I was a little bit too libertarian. I mean, I was saying the world's run by a bunch of devil worshipping, child trafficking pedophiles, and that Social Security is a big Ponzi scam. And I actually raided Jeffrey Epstein's island with some friends, because after they said he had died, he committed suicide. Well, I was skeptical. So we happened to be in the Virgin Islands, and we went and raided and ran around, filmed it, trying to see if he was there or not. And I got 2 million views on YouTube. Wasn't making any friends in the deep state. So I think I've kind of brought it upon myself a little bit, which is probably why they still don't want to let me go, even though I harm nobody. So yes, it's exciting to see it's working. We're going to see $1 million Bitcoin. Then we'll see a $10 million Bitcoin, because the government's never going to stop robbing us via inflation. And so protect yourself.
how did the mining side actually operate day to day? Because I was, watching your documentary and you were saying that you had a $10 million electric bill. I mean, that's pretty insane.
I was the fourth largest taxpayer in the country of Tbilisi, Georgia, on the other side of the world, because they tagged on taxes to the power bill. I was laughing about that. I'm like, they want their taxes, and I'm like, I already am like top 10 taxpayer. Anyways, I would outsource. I had teams that would do all this stuff, and I spent a lot of money looking for ways of zeroing out the power bill, which is a whole nother no-no, because when you have magnetic motors that run forever in the trickle charge battery bank and you never have a power bill again, the men in black show up and they classify it, or they burn your lab to the ground and kill you, or whatever it is. I mean, you can watch Stephen Greer's documentary, The Lost Century, of the 50 free energy devices that pull power from the ether. When energy is free, your water is free, your food is free, your transportation is free, heating, air conditioning, everything is free when energy is free. What do you fight over when everything is free? So, of course, to keep the power, they want, it's $1 trillion. Anyways, I've been battling the oil cartel, the banking cartel, the pharmaceutical cartel, the tobacco cartel. That's all I've been doing for 30 some odd years. And so that's why when I found out that there was an investigation going on me, I was like, I wonder which organization I pissed off this time.
Do you regret any of this? Because you're kind of revealing the people behind the curtain.
Well, listen, none of this is real anyways. Like, this is just, we all think that this table is solid. It's all electrons and atoms and everything is energy, and none of this is real. This is a spiritual game that we're playing. And so when you realize there is no death, then now you have no fear, because how can they control you? They control everybody because of, what they could do. They could kill you, whatever. And so if you realize that when you drop the body and there is no death, this avatar isn't us. We live forever. Our spirits, our souls live forever. Now they have a predicament. How do they control you if you have no fear? And so to me, it's like, what's the worst they could do? Kill me? Come on. There is no death. So yes, of course, it's a dangerous to be right when the government is wrong, and the truth is treason in the empire of lies, they say. But I have no fear. I'm at complete peace. I try to stay on the focus of, or on the frequency, uptone frequencies of peace, patience, joy, love. The love of Jesus in my heart, the Beatitudes, and I stay in this eternal state of gratefulness and thankfulness. The trick is to be able to compare it to how it could always be worse. Whatever your situation is, just compare it to how it could always be worse, and now you'll eternally stay in a frequency of gratitude. So, I blew off my hand with the fireworks. At least I got my other hand. I found myself in jail. Well, at least it's not a Mexican jail. So whatever the situation is, always compare it to how it could always be worse, and then you'll always be happy. So I was like, no matter what they do to me, I will always be happy because I have control of my mind. And so you guys can too, that people that are listening out there. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He parked his car across the street in the thing, and they towed his car. And he was all mad. And I was like, you don't have a time machine, right? And he's like, no, I don't have a time machine. I'm like, so you can't go back in time to fix it. So I'm like, you're not going to be mad for months about this, are you? He's like, no, I'm eventually going to drop it. I'm like, well, are you going to be mad a week from now? He's like, no. How about a day from now? No, I was like, okay, so since you don't have a time machine, you just got to click in your head that I can't go back and change it. My car got towed. Why not? My car got towed. 5 seconds later, ground, release, discharge, release. Why would anybody want to stay mad about anything for more than 5-10 seconds? So that's the trick. It's a psychological thing. Is you don't have a time machine. You can't change the past. You got to accept that your car got towed or whatever the situation. Ground, release. Do it now. Don't hold on to anger for a month or two, because you're eventually going to drop it anyways. So just drop it now.
I love that. That is such a good point. I got a question for you, because I've always, watching your documentary and watching your whole story has changed my point of view on who created Bitcoin. I want to ask you, who created Bitcoin?
Probably DARPA or the CIA. I mean, Satoshi Nakamoto means intelligence of central origin. That's like literally the translation. Probably it's math. It's like fire. Who cares who created fire? You could use it for good or bad. Same with crypto and anything else. It's a utility. It doesn't really matter who created it. It's open source. It's transparent. Anyone, anywhere can participate. And so to me, I don't really care who created it. I just think it's a genius invention. And I think everybody, if they want to protect themselves, should get some of their wealth into an asset that the government can't hyperinflate. If you hold dollars, you're retarded. So buy something that's inflation proof: gold, silver, Bitcoin, any like literally anything the government can't just print trillions of it, And so, yeah, or some Zcash, or Monero. So there's a number of competitors out there that come up with good projects. And just remember the quote: in times of change, the learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. So constantly be a learner, constantly. Thomas Jefferson said a great one. He said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects what never was and never will be. So stay vigilant, get some Bitcoin, go to freejoby.com, freejoby.com, watch the video. I need help. Send this video out to people. And thank you, Matthew, for having me on, bro.
I really do appreciate it. And, I got to ask you, because I don't know if you keep up with all types of cryptos out there, because Ripple, XRP, they were actually fighting a lawsuit for a while about being in security or not. It's kind of like the same thing with you, but you never had a trial.
Not only that, they just try to take jurisdiction where they have none. The SEC, the Securities Act of 1933, that there's specific things that these guys have jurisdiction for. If a Chinese guy and a Japanese guy decide to sell some equipment to each other and they use Bitcoin to do the transaction, where does the SEC get any kind of jurisdiction to regulate that one way or the other? It's none of their business. It doesn't touch the U.S. financial system in any way. I'm on a podcast. Hello. Anyways, so I gotta let you go here. But listen, it's an amazing story. If you go to freejoby.com, you can watch the video there.
One question: what does every day is Friday mean to you?
The same thing that it means when my friend Angelo says it. He says every day is a vacation, and my other friend says every day is a holiday, and you say every day is Friday. So Friday is for people that are free. They don't even remember what day it is. They're all free days. You're always free. You stop. When I had lots and lots of money, which hopefully I'll have again soon, I never even looked at the days. I only looked at the numbers. What are you doing the 11th, the 13th, the 17th, the 22nd? So there's two different ways of looking at the calendar, right? Free people look at the dates based on the numbers, and workers look at the dates based on whether it's Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. That's another click that happens when you have lots of money, is you never look at what day it is in terms
Freedom.
of the day. You just look at the numbers. So that's a nice way to live through life. So, that's what freedom is: doing what you want, when you want, where you want, with whoever you want. You don't have to worry about how much it's going to cost, and that's what freedom is. So every day is Friday. You guys can make that happen.
I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you for sharing your stories and experiences, and all your stuff will be in the description down below. And for everyone tuning in right now, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this episode, and keep every day's Friday mindset going, and stay inspired and make every day feel like Friday. I appreciate you again. Until next time, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Aloha.